Hey guys, Kyle the Death Knight of Anime here, and I'm bringing you my review of the Promised Neverland episode 11. I'm sorry this one is basically as late as it is, guys, but it's like I said in my One Piece review. In terms of with basically the updates with the updates of the One Piece manga and the My Hero Academia manga pretty much throwing me for a loop. I needed to get those ones out of the way and then just kind of and then just worry about this one later. So, yeah, like if those manga chapters had just updated today and not yesterday, then I wouldn't have done this I wouldn't have waited in order to do this one to begin with. Um, but having said that, let's get to the review itself. Because right off the bat, I just got to say this right here, right now. I think, to me personally, this was probably one of the best episodes of the series. If we're talking just of course within this first season so far, because everything about this particular episode just felt so on point, from soundtrack to animation to artwork. It was all just an amazing spectacle to see, and and this and the thing about this episode too as well is that not only did it have great art, animation, everything, but to me this episode also officially put my curiosities in terms of the season finale to rest, because after the if you thought that pretty much this episode was intense and impact was intense, then I would prepare yourselves, guys, because the next episode is going to be non-stop insanity, and I have no doubt anymore of where this particular season is basically going to end. Like, it's like everything I've been thinking about. Everything I've been thinking about in terms of where this particular season is going to end, it's all been building up to this, and the insanity and the insanity like with and the insanity has only just begun. Like, things from next episode is going the next and last episode, it is going to go out. Believe me when I say it is going to go out with a fucking bang. Like, it is going to bang 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 bang. It's just going to be intense. Let's just put it that way. Having said that, having said that, there is one particular thing I was like, it's not a big issue, but there is one thing I was kind of a little disappointed by, which is that in the beginning of this episode, or specifically like in terms of the beginning of where this particular, in terms of the correlation of where this chapter pretty much starts off to pretty much where the manga starts off with this particular content. In the manga, there was actually kind of a cool split screen image of Rei and Emma with some dialogue and talking about how they were planning to escape pretty much the entire time that we basically see them looking defeated. But yeah, that particular scene, it was skipped over, and I thought it would have been a cool way in order to start the episode, but yeah, they just kind of picked up where the last episode left off, and it's one of those things where that specific scene I mentioned, it's one of those scenes that has some nice clarification, and kind of serves as a bit of a bridge of knowing specifically what was going through Emma and Ray's heads at the time after Norman left. But the ending of last episode pretty much showed that they regained their resolve. So I do get as to why that was cut out. It was just kind of a cool scene I wanted to see, but it's fine that it was cut out, I guess. But putting that minor detail aside, however, one thing I really liked about this episode is just how quickly shit hit the fan. Like don't get me wrong. The episode, it did take its time in actually building like the insanity and the intensity up. But even then, that just made it just all the more impactful when shit finally did hit did hit the fan, and while to a certain and while I do still kind of question as to why the kids didn't even think of the fire plan in the first place, like even when Norman was still there, it it is basically the whole thing of setting setting Gracefield on fire. It is, in this current situation, it is what makes the most sense, both in terms of causing mass confusion and deterring and making sure that Isabella's focus is basically is kind of is focused on something, is just that Isabella herself is distracted and not even focused on and deterred away from the actual escape that's going on. I also like how in the first couple minutes where we see Ray pretty much talking logistics of this plan, it sounds crazy and reckless, but when you really start to think about it and when you see the actual plan, that starts to unfold, all you can say is, yeah, given the current situation, that this is the one and only option left, and it becomes even more clear when you see how the kids are using the fire to pretty much their advantage, and beat for beat, that you really start to see how they slowly start to outsmart it. It pretty much is Isabella. So yeah, it's just a really cool scene. It's just really cool to kind of see how this whole plan of escape goes. Also, that score of choir music that was playing in the moment where Ray was about to set him and Gracefield on fire just added to the epicness and scale of the whole moment, and just the weight of how crazy but alive Ray was acting in that moment was just was nuts. And of course we pretty much know that of course we see in this episode that pretty much Ray didn't set himself on fire, but just pretty much in that one moment of seeing how what's basically scary, what's so scary about Ray's about Ray's little breakdown is in a way, like, even though he is acting crazy, it's like the first time he's probably acting alive, almost like he feels like it's the first time he can be himself, almost, in a weird way, and yeah, just pretty much and on top of that, like pretty much scenes like that, and that's honestly another thing that made this episode great is that scenes like that, like the scene with Ray and just everything else in this episode, that there was just so much weight and so much there was just so much weight to every single scene in this episode, and just an atmosphere, just a very intense and creepy atmosphere to this episode, that I feel that for as much as I feel that the Promised Neverland anime has tried to get, it never really got. But in this episode, it just mastered just that creepy and intense atmosphere in just this one episode alone. Like it did so well with it. One thing I also found myself oddly appreciating a lot more with this episode is how I found myself appreciating how the other kids are incorporated into this whole plan, and how they found out the truth about Gracefield and the demons. Because, and the thing is, it wasn't like the whole thing with learning of basically how a lot of the younger kids end up finding out about Gracefield. It's one of those things where it's like the manga, like my opinion on how it was in the manga. It still felt a little squeezed in, but it still felt a little squeezed in from the perspective of pacing. But the execution itself still works, because eavesdropping on a conversation is kind of how little kids learn things like that. Like it keeps it again, just going off what the series is always, just the focus that's been kept on this series so far. It keeps a lot of what this plan incorporates, is it keeps intact that the kids are kids. So I really liked it for that. And yeah, just seeing just the little kids like eavesdropping on the conversations that were already going on in previous episodes. It was a clever way of incorporating them in, for sure. And it's kind of funny, and when you really look at the kids pretty much being a part of this escape plan, and how useful they are, in this episode. It's actually kind of funny how the one thing that Ray thought would be a detriment to the plan ended up turning out to be the greatest asset. Like, if you really look at this episode, like, if you really look at all those little flashbacks, pretty much incorporating everyone into the plan actually proved to be one of the most helpful parts of it. So yeah, but yeah, guys, that's my review. If you enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Mr. Crunchyroll. Death Knight of Anime, signing off. Later, guys.